This time, would please, if you're able, please stand and we'll say our pledge, our four-way test, and then Jack Herrick will offer the invocation for today. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. On our four-way test.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you. And Jack, please, one of our past district governors from 200304, right, Mr. Herrick?
Yeah,
I know. I can't deal with it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Before the prayer, I wanted to bring everybody up to date on John Daly's condition. I received word from his son this morning that he was going into hospice care this morning. John has been strong and faithful and at times cantankerous, but he's been a friend to all of us and a contributor to the community. So I'd appreciate it if you'd keep John and his family in your prayers. Our Father God, Creator, benefactor to all, we ask you to anoint John with a very special blessing as he prepares to enter the kingdom. We praise you for the gifts that you give us as individual talents. Give us the strength and the courage to use the talents you've given. Let Rotary remain a focus of hope for the future. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Amen.
We certainly will keep you updated on John Daly with information as we receive it. So, as Jack said, please be certain to keep John in your prayers. Well, with moving on and looking at our new month of April, this is, I don't know if you know or remember, but April is designated as an environmental month for Rotary. And we are marking the occasion with local projects such as roadside cleanups, which is fantastic, as you know, it makes a difference. And considering also thinking big about protecting our environment, which is a hot topic that we hear. One of Rotary's 7 areas of focus by participating with other clubs and districts on a larger scale, projects that can be funded through the Rotary Foundation. And as I say that, how appropriate as we have reviewed our grants under the leadership of Chairperson Sandy Aragon. So please be certain to stay tuned. Next week, the board will be voting on our contributions for our targeted organizations that have submitted grants. So again, Sandy, thank you so much for your dedication to our club. And at this time, I would like to have our greeter.
Dan,
if you don't mind, any guests that we have this morning?
I don't think we have any guests.
online? Do we have anyone?
We have anyone online? I only see two.
No, there are four of us here.
Oh.
Richard Brandenburg, Rich Fry, myself, and of course, Terry. You can't see them because they're not showing their video.
Okay. All right, thank you. I hope everybody heard that, so thank you so much. So, Connor, if you wouldn't mind, shall we do some celebrations of happiness with our new month of April?
Sure, yes, we can do some celebrations of happiness, and before that, I'm going to take one from the bank because I don't have cash on me right now, but I was just going to say thanks to everyone that has already signed up or been willing to help on short notice with the new greeter, indicator, and meeting/tech setup sign up. I'll send out additional notices as needed, but some of those slots have already started to be filled, so thanks to all the regulars that do it. If you haven't done greeter, indicator, and obviously the new tech setup help, I'm happy to kind of walk you through what that looks like. Great way to get engaged with the meetings, and then Brian or myself are able and willing to, of course, assist with the first time for the tech and meeting setup, which is simple as well, thanks to the work of Brian. So don't want to spam everyone with email, but I appreciate those that have stepped up, and I'll do my best not to bug everyone else, but thanks to everyone that helped for today too. So happy dollars again. Who's happy? Katie, all right.
I'm going to make these my thank you dollars. Most of you know that I lost my sister 2 weeks ago in a very unfortunate way. And I want to say is that my Rotary family has been absolutely amazing. My husband and I and my daughters have felt your love and your caring and your prayers and all the wonderful messages that you've sent that I reread almost every day. Things are getting much better, but I just wanted to say thank you.
Anyone else happy? All right, Mario, here you go. Thanks, sir.
Two bits of happiness. One, we just received word that we secured probably our single largest client out of Colorado. So we're going to help automate training and stuff for them that will hopefully change the entire business for the better. So yay us. And also probably the slightly bigger piece is I'm going to be a father in this coming August. So yay, very happy. Lots of these. So any tips, hand-me-downs, or advice is greatly appreciated.
Boy, all right. Congratulations. Anyone else happy here? Lots of reasons to be happy. Anyone online? All right. I'm sure everyone is happy, but it's a light day for expressing it. So, Linda, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Connor, so much. April's going to be a busy month for us. Don't forget that our food bank, the Akron Canton Food Bank, will begin back in existence this month on April the 26th from 4:30 to 6:30. So please put that on your calendar again, April 26th. David, I don't want to put you on the spot, but there may be some rumblings about the possibility of getting together afterwards.
Yeah, we can discuss something
So
else.
thank you for letting me put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's easy.
Tom Knauer, do you have anything membership-wise? How about the board meeting next week?
What about it? We're having a board meeting next week.
And are we not going to vote on a prospective new member?
We're going to vote on Abraham, I'm going to butcher his last name, Abraham P.
Panakotu.
There you go. Thank you, Cheryl. And of course, we're going to induct Gareth Ann Quill today, so we're excited about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Terry, I know that you're online. Any updates or reminder about our scholarship dinner this month?
Just encouraging people to register since it's T-minus 14 days for the deadline for registration. So
April 18th, correct?
correct.
Okay, and it's a buffet, and it'll be here at the church. So please register online by the 18th, $25, and it's a buffet dinner. So it's 5 to 7 p.m. Also want to call attention to our district conference, which is at the end of the month at the Marriott Cleveland off of Harvard Boulevard, April 28th and 29th. It should be an exciting conference. And we look forward to having our Akron family present during that event. So please join us. And then Brian Casarco, he's heading up, I hope, the 9th annual Dragons on the Lake Festival. And we're looking all the way ahead to August 12th. So Brian's going to be the guy, and I know he needs a strong team of rowers. Is that how you say it? Or paddlers? I don't know. If Susan was here, she'd probably correct me saying paddlers. But again, that's August 12th. So we're looking forward to having a very strong team for that. And of course, we're still looking for host families for inbound students for next year, 23-24. Susan Colville Hall is heading up that. And Sandy, I'll come back to you. Is there anything you want to say quickly about the grants?
Nothing new, really. The grant committee did its work, and the board will get the report and make decisions hopefully next week.
Great. Thank you so much, Sandy. Looking forward to that. So we have an exciting day. As Tom mentioned, we have an induction today. So we have two lovely ladies that are going to step forward. And we're really, really, really happy to have this happen. So Anna and Lauren, if you ladies would join me up here, that would be great. As I drop my phone. Oh, not over here. I'll get you close to me. So, and just so you know, she has gone this wonderful experience before. She's a welcome transfer from the Fair Lawn Club. So we stole her. No, we didn't. She voluntarily came. So bear with me as I read through my script. So thank you, Hug. So, fellow Rotarians, it is our duty as the Akron Rotary Club to add new members from time to time. So it may not only increase our usefulness and influence as a club, but also to extend the spirit of Rotary throughout our community. So, with that being said, Akron Rotarian, Lauren Holly, I ask you about your nominee for membership into our club.
I nominate Terry.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I didn't know I needed a speech.
That's okay. It's always, on your feet. So, Narthan, you have been selected by the members of our club to hold this active membership because we believe you to be a very worthy representative of our calling, and also to process qualities that will permit you to exemplify the true spirit of Rotary in your public, business, and social private life. And as you know, Rotary International is a humanitarian organization that brings together business and professional leaders in order to provide community service, promote integrity, and advance goodwill, peace, and understanding in our entire world. It is a non-political and non-religious organization, and membership is by invitation only. There are over 46,000 member clubs in our world with a membership of 1.4 million individuals in over 200 countries known as Rotarians. When one joins Rotary, you will become a part of a worldwide fraternity. You can travel throughout most of the world and find a Rotary club within easy distance. Rotarians, as you know, will welcome you warmly, even though the language may be different, the food unusual, and the location far from your home. The object of Rotary is to encourage and foster the idea of service as a basis for worthy enterprise, and in particular to encourage and foster, first, the development of acquaintance as an opportunity for service. Second, high ethical standards in business and professions. The recognition of worthiness of all useful occupations, and dignified by each Rotarian as your occupation as an opportunity to serve our society. Third, the application of the idea of service by every Rotarian is your personal business and community life. Fourth, the advantage of international understanding, goodwill, peace through a world friendship of business and professional persons united again in the unity of service. I charge you to judge yourself by the four-way test of the things you think, say, and do. And as our banner is behind you, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendship? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? So with those charges, my dear, we, as Akron Rotary Club, welcome you into our club. And it's a way of life, but you are elected to membership because we believe you fit this life. So we ask you to attend weekly meetings and always remember Rotary's motto, service above self. So congratulations. You are now the world's newest Rotarian. Congratulations. And this is our theme for the year. Lauren, do you have one of these? I'm not. Okay, well, I'll have to get you. You want to pin her with our theme? There you go. Do you trust me?
When did we get a photograph of you three?
Oh, okay. Well, we'll make a threesome.
Maybe we'll shift.
You want us to move that way?
Yeah, when it's done, yeah.
Okay.
When we don't have the table away.
There we go. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Okay, don't go away.
Don't go away. Okay.
We would like a little background information, Lauren. You can graciously sit down. Thank you, dear. So we'd like to hear a little about who you are.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm Dareth Ann Krill. Most people ask me where I got my name because they've never heard it before. So I was named after a game show contestant from a 70s TV show named Tattletales. I've never seen it. But the contestant's name was Dareth, and my mom wanted my middle name to be Esther. But she didn't like the way Dareth Esther sounded, so she threw Ann onto Dareth. So now I'm Dareth Ann Esther. But I grew up here in Akron. I grew up West Akron and went to St. Sebastian's School. And then I went on to, yeah, I do see Tom at church often. Then I went to Archbishop Hope High School and then the University of Akron. And I am currently a branch manager for Ohio Savings Bank, where I've worked on and off for 23 years. I also volunteer at St. Sebastian still. I don't live in West Akron anymore. I moved to Norton, but I still drive over because my family's all at St. Sebastian's, and I teach pre-K and kindergarten PSR. So it's a little bit about me.
Thank you so much. And please, fellow Rotarians, welcome our newest member today. It's wonderful that you're here with us. So at this time, Mr. Connor, if you wouldn't mind doing the honors, kind sir.
Yes.
This is his.
It is my honor, whoops, here we go. It's Mike, all right. It's my honor and privilege to introduce our very own John Reyes as our guest speaker today. I know, John, you wanted us to be brief with the introduction. You certainly have a prolific background and bio. Importantly, John was past district governor for the 2019-2020 Rotary year. He's also a past president of our club and a longtime member, as most, if not all of us know. John's current role for the district is as the Youth Protection Officer, which is what we will be, the topic is related to today. So we look forward to hearing from you, John. But of course, from just a personal and a business background, John has a prolific career as a business litigation attorney, over 40 years of experience. Correct me, most, if not all of them with Buckingham? All of them are with Buckingham. So beyond being a very skilled professional, John is a University of Akron Zip and also got his JD from Vanderbilt University. So John, we're looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks for all you do for our club in the district. And with that, no further ado. Hope that was brief enough for you, but you deserve an intro. So.
No, it's kind of you. I went to two schools, neither of which could field a reasonable football team. I can tell you that. It is a pleasure to be here. A couple of quick things outside of the realm of the talk. Sarah, welcome aboard. Being a past district governor, I can tell you how important it is to the district and to clubs to have members. We can't do anything without active and good members, and welcome aboard. One other thing about the district conference, if I could, this might be a good year for you to think about attending, because remember, next year it will be Julie's conference. Right? We will be expected. It's probably a good thing she's not here, and Cheryl, she's online, tell me now. But it's probably a good thing to find out how that conference works, the kinds of things that are done there, and the kind of help we're going to have to supply. One of the things I know we'll be doing is the hospitality suite on the second night of the conference, the Saturday night portion of that. So and you don't have to go to the entire conference. Cheryl will probably have a fit in here somewhere, but you may not be able to go, for all day, both days, or what have you. But anything you can catch would be a good idea. That's a plug, obviously. Youth protection is something that I kind of fell into quite a number of years ago. I represented Ohio Youth Soccer Association North 20-odd years ago or more, as this area started to develop. And as I'll touch upon in a minute, the district is probably 10 to 15 years behind where we ought to be with youth protection, but we're working hard to catch up. And frankly, to catch up with ourselves, because we have a very well-developed youth protection program as it relates to the youth exchange program. So what I'd like to look at is a little bit about how the district and the clubs got to the point we are at now, where we need to go next, and who is going to be the key to doing that here in this particular club. As all of you know here, this club is heavily involved in youth activities. Even though we don't directly run the camp, we are obviously directly affiliated with it. A lot of us volunteer there and attend there from time to time. We've been heavily involved and continue to be heavily involved in youth exchange. We have a student this year. We're looking for housing next year. And I can tell you from experience, youth protection issues arise with youth exchange students. We've had 2 of those to investigate this Rotary year. So it is important to be aware and to be involved. I'm not sure we're extremely active right now with the Interact Club at North, but we have been, and I suspect we will be again. We have a scholarship program where there's a fair amount of youth contact as well. We go to the Super Learning Center. At least before COVID, we went to the Super Learning Center where we have youth contact and a variety of other things. Having been all over the district, I can tell you that this club is probably more involved with youth than any other club in the district, to be frank about it. And I think we are to be complimented for doing it and for consistently doing it over the years. On the other hand, that puts an increased emphasis on safety and youth protection. We've done that well, frankly, for youth exchange for a long time. And some of you are, Susan's not here today and Liv is not here today, but if you are involved in youth exchange, of course, you're fully vetted, right? You have to have a criminal background check. There's extensive training that goes into that, both for the club representatives, the host families, and they all, by the way, have to be fully vetted and fully trained, and the student participants. In fact, as an incoming governor, I had to sit through that training, and it's extensive. Those students are even trained what kind of activity they should not tolerate, where they go to report it, and what have you. If you compare that, frankly, to what the district and what clubs do in the rest of our youth activities, there's a substantial gap. All right. For instance, this is really a great screech we have here.
It is.
I'm told, by the way, they brought that in specially for me today. And I'm told also it's so that I don't come back next week, but that's okay. That's all right. Coming around to this, when you look at what we do for Interact or what we might do even at RILA, the level of vetting, the level of training, the level of supervision is considerably less. And that can create problems. What's been happening, the how we got here part, moves to the fact that, one, Rotary International has increased its level of emphasis on this. We find that the system that we're talking about here today, the youth protection policy that's online in the district, that particular type of policy has been used in every district in California and the state of Washington, for instance, for between 12 and 15 years, and they're developing in other areas as well. So we're behind our peers. Rotary International is looking at us, and maybe equally important, Rotary International's insurance carrier is looking at this. The RI insurance underwriters actually surveyed, they went through the Rotary International documentation on student protection and found that, and there's a risk management group that reports out on this. They issue a lengthy report, and I'm going to read one sentence of that report because it kind of sets the current background, where we are today and what we're required to do. And the quote is, "This review now of the Rotary International policy means that adopting the youth protection policy set forth in the Rotary Youth Protection Guide for tutoring programs, Interact, RILA, and the Youth Exchange Program, and any other activities involving youth is essential to maintaining the broad insurance coverage that has historically been available under the program." And the rest of that goes on to say, if we don't do that, coverage can be lost, policy limits may be lowered, and what have you. And in fact, there's already been one level of tightening, and this is not an insurance law discussion, but we used to have an occurrence policy, and those of you who work in the insurance business realize that's one of the better types of policies you can have. We no longer do. It's now claims made. And of course, that puts an emphasis on reporting any prospective claim that we think exists and what have you in order to have coverage in the future. But that's kind of where we are. It's not hard to understand why. The large sex abuse settlements in a variety of different pieces of litigation are driving a lot of this, driving the increases in premiums. The Boy Scouts recently had their Chapter 11 reorganization plan confirmed. It's on appeal now to the Third Circuit, but the payout for that plan is $2.6 billion for over 80,000 claims. Okay. USC has a $1.1 billion plan payout in place at the present time. The Mormon Church, $250 million. Multiple Catholic dioceses are involved in Chapter 11's $25 million worth of claims and up per diocese. University of Michigan has a $490 million payout in place at this time, and USA Gymnastics has a $380 million payout in place at this time. So the need is obvious. Another step on what got us here is action taken by the state of Ohio all the way back in March of 2001, which frankly is when I started doing this for the Youth Soccer Association. We started holding training meetings and what have you shortly after a statute was enacted in Ohio. It's titled Volunteers Having Unsupervised Access to Children. And pursuant to that statute, anybody who would be a club member, statute uses the word volunteer, who has unsupervised access to children, that's anybody under 18, that's a defined term, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, shall, not may, shall be told that they can be fingerprinted and criminal background checked at any time. The failure to actually do that, vis-a-vis your volunteers that have that kind of access, means you lose the statutory immunity that otherwise is available under that particular enactment. Okay. And quick show of hands, how many people here, and some of you I know are, but how many people here are aware of that requirement? Okay. So maybe 5, and a couple of you worked, 3 of you at least worked in the field. But that's been around now for about 22 years. We have now actually adopted a policy. It's on your table. It's the document with the blue cover. It's been in place for about 2 years. It's on the district website. These are a free gift. Take them home, read them. In fact, you're not allowed to give them back to me. You do have to take them with you. That is a requirement. Cheryl can help you if you can't find it on the website, by the way. There are many, many resources in my Rotary and in the Learning Center. They're fairly easy to access. Cheryl can help you with that as well. This particular policy, we're not asking you to memorize. 20-odd pages long with appendices, but it's designed to help you spot issues, plan events, and figure out what to do if you have, in fact, a problem arise. Reporting requirements, perhaps to police authorities, insurance carrier, the district itself, and ultimately Rotary International. They are all covered in that policy. There are checklists and what have you in the appendices in the back. The insurance claim form information is back there. It is critical that club leadership be aware of it and maintain that awareness, because let's face it, Rotary, we're constantly moving new leaders into office, right? Your term is generally 1 year, and we all need to follow that. First orientation, by the way, on this policy was held in August of 2021. The second one was held in September of 2021. 7 people from this club attended, by the way, which was one of the largest attendances at this particular program when we rolled the policy out. Chaz Billington attended. Of course, he's not with us. But Tom, you attended. So did Linda. So did Doug. Julie Brandel attended. Cheryl Warren attended, and so did I. On the other hand, you have new leadership coming in now, all right? And folks like Thane will need to take that course as well. It's still online, it's still available, it's still current. So I would ask you and encourage you to do that. So I guess now we've moved to where are we now and what do we need to do? At this point, the club needs to name a youth protection officer and a youth protection committee. Linda, to put it somewhat delicately, has been a sitting duck so far this year because there has been no youth protection officer for the club. The policy provides as a default that if the club doesn't name a youth protection officer, the club president has those duties and responsibilities. Some good things have been happening with Linda and Tom's support in particular. We've now reinstituted, and some of you, at least the board I'm sure is aware, the risk management committee for the district. Terry Dalton has agreed to come back. Olivia Pylon is serving. Dr. McGregor, Pat O'Neill, Thane has stepped up. Jacinto has stepped up, and I'm serving on it at least for this year. That's a risk management committee. It covers all of the issues. Back in 05 and 06, when I resurrected that committee the first time, to be honest with you, it was because of problems at the Chile Open. Without going into any detail, I can tell you that Rotarians and alcohol early on a Saturday morning is not always a good idea. But that aside, today we have another task. The policy that you have in front of you provides for a youth protection committee for each club. It's supposed to be appointed by the youth protection officer, reported to the president and the board, and then reported to the district. All right. It's designed, and the suggestions are that the members should include, of course, your person who's working with the youth exchange program and the youth exchange counselor. If you have an interact advisor or liaison, two ad hoc or general members, if you will, who preferably have youth protection background. Katrina and Doug, for instance, have that background if you're creating a list. Sorry, but couldn't resist that. That needs to be done. The Risk Management Committee, by coincidence actually, meets tomorrow for the first time, and that's one of the agenda items we will be looking at. Right now, because of where the district is at in rolling out this particular program, we need a youth protection officer by April 14th. In fact, Tom just got the letter from the governor. That appointment is mandatory at this point. There will be 2 training sessions to train the youth protection officer in late April, around the 24th, 25th. I don't remember the exact dates. The reason that is so critical, and we'll get into a little more detail on that next because it is where we are at. In order to use the youth volunteer management system that the district has now adopted, we pay a license fee for it. We're having at least one module developed for youth training itself. We need to have the club youth protection officers able to access it and use it. And they can't do that unless they've actually gone through the full vetting process, okay? And that's what the 2 Zoom meetings coming up in late April will be about, to instruct and assist those club youth protection officers in becoming certified to actually use the system, because then everybody in the club will be exposed to it at one level or another, right? There's a handout on the table. It's 1 sheet of paper. It looks like, and I apologize because I didn't send this to Terry or Cheryl, so the folks online don't have it. If they want it, email it to me and I'll send it to them. Yes, it looks like what Linda, would you hold that up so everybody can see it? Oh, no, I've got one.
Looks like this.
It's titled Youth Protection Volunteer Vetting Process, is what the document looks like. The upper right corner is highlighted in yellow. Okay. Youth Volunteer Management System is a software system. It is designed to enable the district to manage the youth protection process and underlying training more or less automatically. There are 2 kinds of volunteer when it comes to youth protection. And in your spare time, you can look at the policy in front of you, and you will find at paragraph number 4 the definitions of the 2 types of activity. And you'll see them listed on the top, very top of the sheet. There's something called continued contact, and there's something called casual contact. And as you might assume from the title, they define how much contact you're likely to have with youth. But to simplify it, to make it easy for this discussion, we are going to go backward and look at the Ohio Revised Code, which has a definition in it that's useful. And for those who really want to look, it's in Ohio Revised Code section 109.574, subsection B. All right, and I'm going to quote that. Unsupervised access to a child, and that's the tipping point here. If you have it, you go through full vetting. If you don't have it, you go through a very limited vetting. All right? But that kind of contact, that unsupervised access, is defined as either of the following. 1, no other person 18 years of age or older is present in the same room with the child or children. 1 18-year-old and a child or children. That's unsupervised access. Or if you're outdoors, and this became really interesting for soccer coaches. I used to give clinics on how to set up a compliant practice. If outdoors, no other person 18 years of age or older is within a 30-yard radius of the child or has visual contact. No one other than that single 18-year-old is within a 30-yard radius or has visual contact. Imagine Brian Keena's problems when they were doing park cleanups in North Hill with the Interact Club. Okay. Imagine, I was assigned a soccer practice field for my team that I actually literally needed 4 coaches present at all times in order to be able to comply with that statute because of size, layout, where the restrooms were, and what have you. Okay. But that aside, for the time being, we need that club youth protection officer and the committee to support them to survey the entire club and decide who has casual contact, who has continuous contact. All right. If you have casual contact, let's pick on Jack. And let's just say Jack's only contact with youth is going to be coming to a meeting where youth may attend. Maybe he'll be at the scholarship banquet. That's all he's going to do. All right. He's going to be present in a group setting. There's literally no chance he's going to have that unsupervised contact. He's a casual contact volunteer. The club youth protection officer will turn his name in that way, under that pigeonhole, with a email address. The system will automatically send Jack a link to take a brief training course. It takes about 20 minutes, and there's a quiz. All right. He takes it. I'm optimistic he'll pass it on the first try. He's done. He doesn't have to do anything else. And there's no expense incurred by Jack or the club for that. Okay. On the other hand, that same system, if your club youth protection officer turns in a person's name as a continued contact person, somebody like Mella who's going to be at the camp and around children all the time where that kind of access might occur. All right, she's vetted elsewhere, but for an example here, she's going to get a different email that's going to give her an application, and she's going to have to fill out the application. And included in that will be 3 references. All right, that will come back again to the volunteer management system. The first thing that will happen is Mella will then get a link to an entity called IntelliCorp, where she will go through the process of taking a criminal or undertaking a criminal background check. Before anybody panics, it's the same system we've used for the last 10 or 15 years for youth exchange. All right, folks here who've been heavily involved in youth exchange have been doing this for quite some time. It's not that difficult. That then gets reported back. If anything is found, there's a process to review that and what have you. But let's assume that, and it's likely that Mella will come through clear. I'm not too worried about that. That part's done. The 3 references that will be identified, then the district youth protection officer will have to interview. And there is a pre-programmed set of questions to be asked. Those are then reviewed. Okay. And there are at least 4 people doing that. Carrie Malott from the Stowe Club actually chairs it. Evan McCauley from Hudson helps with that. And then there are 2 folks from Hillcrest Sunrise whose names are escaping me at the moment that all work with that. The club youth protection officer will be asked to interview Mella, the person who's involved. Okay. And then you will also, Mella, get that link to do the same training class that the other volunteers get. And you take that and take the quiz, and you're done. This is where the only cost is incurred. At the present time, the cost of that background check is $15.75. When we started this, it was $13. It's going to go up, but it's been going up slowly and not a whole lot. How that gets paid will be up to the club. Whether you ask the volunteer to do it or whether the club covers it will be a club decision. I'd obviously recommend that the club do it because of the benefit. But also, while you're doing this, the club youth protection officer and committee need to think about who really needs that full vetting. All right, because if folks really are not going to be involved, then you're incurring an expense you don't need. All right, so that'll be a process that will require some thought and some judgment. That criminal background check will need to be done each year, once a year. Okay, the course you take it once, you're done. Okay, so that's how we got here, what we need to do now. And then where do we hope to be? Well, we hope to have an effective functioning youth protection committee very soon. We hope to have the club fully vetted fairly soon, hopefully by the end of the Rotary year. And that does seem to be reasonable. And we're ready to move on from there, frankly. Good idea, Dan. Questions?
Yeah, please. I'm on the Youth Exchange Committee here. A little aside, I've been vetted and fingerprinted to visit my local grade school. So I don't know whether you can take that into consideration or not.
Well,
and secondly, would I even need it to be just on the committee?
All right, well, let's take the first question first. The answer is the existing vetting you've had done, we will not accept. Why is the next question. And we found some very interesting things out, all right? Vetting programs are not uniform. They're not done as often as we need them. We found, for instance, that many school districts vet their teachers once every 5 years. Okay, and that's not an adequate standard of care. We are responsible for and would have to justify whatever system we accept, and we frankly don't have the capacity to go out and review all of those vetting systems that a couple of thousand folks in the district may be involved in. That's the why of that, frankly. I don't know enough standing here, Dan, on how the committee works to tell you whether your role on that committee would require it or not. But if in fact there is a unanimity, if you will, of view that your activity on that committee would always be in a group setting, okay, and if you read the definition where there is virtually no chance of abuse, then the answer would be no. On the other hand, you'd have to tell me whether that risk exists. An emergency need for transportation, student arrives early, nobody else is there. You have to think about those things.
And that would even include taking a kid out for a ball game or down to Amish country or something like that, which
Yep.
we have been encouraged to do.
Absolutely, correct. That is correct. Yes. Yep. Okay. And by the way, thank you for agreeing to be on the committee, but if somebody else had a hand up first, I apologize.
Thanks, John. If somebody in the club is going to undertake a role where they're going to have close contact with a minor, whose job is it to get them that email? Do they have to ask for it? Is the club youth protection officer supposed to know and send it to them? And the second part of that is, let's say something falls through the cracks in the club, it doesn't happen. Is that a big problem for the club? Are we liable for something potentially, or how much exposure does the club have in the instance of not following through and doing all this?
Well, let's stick with the first question first. Yes, the primary responsibility, although everything needs to be done in a cooperative and a team-like approach, but it is the primary responsibility to look at every member of the club, or everybody on the roster, and decide which way to report them. Continuous contact or casual contact, all right? And the club youth protection officer turns that in. You don't have to do that just as the club member. You will then automatically be contacted either just to take the course or to go through the full vetting process, okay? If you get a casual contact selection, you think, no, that's not me. I do more than that. Then I would ask you to contact the club youth protection officer to move you to the other classification. Okay, does that help on that question? Okay. Second question, liability. Well, if you have more than one lawyer in the room, you may get more than one answer to this. So I'm going to give you my answer, and I'm going to tell you that I'm conservative, okay? My answer is that if we don't effectively utilize the system we adopt as our own standard of care, if you will, and I use that term broadly, not in the strictest legal sense, then yes, that will increase the likelihood of liability on our part for any damage that may occur. And yes, we can be liable for that. That's why the Boy Scouts owe $2.6 billion, because they let that kind of abuse occur. And they have, well over 80,000 claimants. Well, that's a different question. That's a third question. And the answer is the liability can come to roost at all of those places. The individual who misbehaves, yes, that's easy. The board, if the board is not making sure its committee is doing its job, there can be liability for that. So, we investigated one not long ago where a club who shall go nameless in the district held a fundraising event all right, at a facility where alcohol was served. They had Interact Club members there helping staff the event. Intoxicated guests, not Rotarians, all right, harassed some minors, basically, trying to get dates, phone numbers out of 15, 16, and 17-year-olds, okay? And the process of that was all approved by the board. Okay, I would suggest to you that there was a significant potential for board liability there. And then it's basically fact dependent, what happened, how, and why.
Do we have insurance?
Yes, you just cut Thane off, but the answer is yes. Rotary International has a very good policy. The limits are somewhere around $7 or $8 million at this point. It's still effectively first dollar coverage. Every club is assessed a fee, and that money is then used to pay the retainage, which is $250,000 a claim. So even in that first $250,000, the club doesn't have to pay, either for defense costs or liability. Yes, sir.
So, John, I think just speaking on behalf of everybody in the room, we know that being the district's youth protection officer, you don't really get paid well, and it's not a cupcake job. So we all just want to thank you for everything you're doing for the district as well as for our club, because I think we all know how important it is to protect our children, to uphold their dignity and their innocence. The question I have, though, is once we institute this policy here, how static is it? Or is this something that's more so living and dynamic, and then over time is going to change to match the needs of the club?
Well, first of all, the policy itself is at the district level, okay? But the answer is still pretty similar, right? It is dynamic. It's been in place 2 years. We've already amended it twice because as we experience things, we realized that doesn't work that way. We have to do something else. So yeah, it will be dynamic, it will be living, and let's face it, the environment is going to change. Some of it will be pushed on us from the outside, some will be learning from the inside.
This is obviously hypothetical, but how difficult do you think it will be for our club to adapt to any potential changes? Or do you think once we kind of get in the attitude, we have the system in place that we're
That's one of the more polite ways I've been asked, with the essential question, how the hell are you going to get Rotarians to do this? That was very well done, very well done. My answer is something like this, all right, because there are multiple layers of this, multiple reasons I think we should have confidence that it will work well here, all right. One, we have a long history of working with youth exchange, and we've been able to do this. We've been able to get people to do the background checks and what have you, all right. Secondly, the policy that we're looking at, to be candid, was plagiarized, all right, heavily from a district in California, where they have been using it for quite some number of years, and their participation rate is around 90%. All right, and so let's be honest and accurate about this. It's mandatory that you go through one of the two paths on this policy. Will we ever get everybody to do it? No. All right, one, turnover. New members, they come into the club, you're going to need some time. All right, others, no one is going to ask someone in John Daly's position or the position he's been in the last few years to bother with a course like this, right? There's some common sense and some flexibility there. All right. Thirdly, most of you who have had involvement in any kind of a youth activity, if you've been a volunteer coach, if you've handled a troop or a den of Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, you realize that these kinds of requirements are now across the board. We provide space at the church I attend for the Boy Scouts to train their troop leaders, for instance. I was doing this with Ohio Youth Soccer Association North coaches in 2002. In fact, Tom has one of my hypothetical questions. Lay out of the field, give it to the coach, have the coach read it, and tell me, how do you run this practice in a compliant fashion? Okay. So, and maybe COVID is the last level. All right. How difficult it would have been to get people computer literate enough and with the hardware they need before COVID may have been one thing. But now, having gone through that, I think the existing capability through all age groups in Rotary is much greater than it was. So I think there's a very realistic reason to be extremely confident that, yes, this can be done. We just need some cooperation and a little bit of your time. Jack?
More delicate area. Suppose one of our members sees something that's suspicious. What is their moral and legal obligation to report it, and to whom do they report?
John, can you repeat the question just for the online folks?
The question from Jack was, and he's coming up with something he calls delicate, and he's right. One of our members sees something that they believe is suspicious, Jack's word, not mine. What's their legal duty to report, their moral duty to report, and who do they report it to? Simple question, right? The short answer is, I would suggest that you err on the side of safety, okay? And you have essentially two places to go to report it as opposed to individuals, all right? One would, on the club side, that's why you have a club youth protection officer, or lacking that, the club president, all right? There's also a district youth protection officer, and that's actually not me, it's Carrie Millard. I'm the district youth committee chair, but you can report to either one of us. So there are parallel places to report it within the Rotary process. If your suspicion is something that leads you to believe that any kind of criminal activity may have occurred, then you need to report it to the appropriate police authority. And we have done that. To be candid, but somewhat vague, we had at one of our overnight events, one youth sexually assaulted another. That was a call to the police department, an arrest occurred, and in the juvenile system and juvenile terminology, there was a conviction, and that person is now a registered sex offender. Okay. Rotary's role in that was to stay out of the way of the police, wait until that investigation was concluded, and then take action, which in our case was to permanently bar that person from ever becoming involved in Rotary at any way, at any level, and Rotary International maintains that record.
Thank you.
All right. Linda stood up. I think I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
I didn't do that. I didn't do that. John, don't completely go away, huh?
John, Dan's got the Daily Lotto.
Yeah. Did you buy a ticket?
I did not buy, I purposely did not buy a ticket.
Okay.
I thought this might. That's all right, unfortunately. And I'll let you read it.
Winner.
The last three numbers are 572.
572.
572.
All right. Big pot today.
Okay.
$2.
Have There you go, congratulations. And now I shuffled these already, trust me on that.
Have you been vetted?
Okay, you get to keep this as well.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
I'll
this is
just
free.
mention that. Is that okay?
Yeah. By the way, I overlooked something. When I gave you the name of the committee members, I missed some guy named Dan Reynolds, who's not only on that committee, he chairs it. Don't tell Dan I missed it.
Yeah. No, we won't tell Dan. Thank you. So I just received a text message from Susan Colville Hall, and we have a host family for an exchange student for next year. So they're out of Stowe, so we'll have a new exchange student as part of our organization for next year. So thank you to Susan for finding another family. So yay for us. So it's good. So we're right back, John. So we're right there. And Darthana, a welcome again to our club. It's wonderful to have you as our newest Rotarian. And any other announcements before I ring the bell? Okay, well, great. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Thanks again to John.